Miller is a man who is richly endowed by the capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater. So far, where's he wrong? You very likely remember just a couple of weeks ago, I guess, when Terry Moran was in the Oval Office with Donald Trump and just outed him as the demented old man that he is, where Donald Trump was bamboozled, fooled by the annotation on the knuckles of Kilmar Obrego Garcia, where someone was trying to indicate that tattoos on his knuckles stood for MS-13 by putting, like in Photoshop or MS Paint, MS-13 above each of the symbols. And Donald Trump thought the MS and the 1-3 were actual tattoos and not markings from an image editing software. Because he's a moron, right? Well, that man, Terry Moran, was just suspended by ABC for a tweet that he ended up deleting, where he called Stephen Miller. He says the thing about Stephen Miller, I'll just put this up, is not that he is the brains behind Trumpism. Yes, he is one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trumpist movement and translates them into policy. But that's not what's interesting about Miller. It's not the brains, it's the bile. Miller is a man who is richly endowed by the capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater. So far, where's he wrong? So far, what has he said that is incorrect? So far, what has he said that's inflammatory? The truth is not inflammatory. The truth is the truth. ABC suspended him for this, and we're going to get to that. All the MAGA responses. You can see this just by looking at him, because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats his hate. Trump is a world-class hater, but his hatred only is a means to an end, and that end is his own glorification. That's his spiritual nourishment. Bravo, Terry Moran. Bravo. Accurate. Profoundly accurate. Where is the misstatement? ABC suspended him. J.D. Vance, the president of the United States, whose official capacity in that role apparently is just demanding apologies for Donald Trump, demanding Terry Moran apologize, demanding Zelensky apologize for not being sufficiently grateful and bending the knee to the dear leader, Donald Trump, a man he once, J.D. Vance, described as America's Hitler. These people, it is beyond parody. He, J.D. Vance, tweeted this. An ABC journalist, Terry Moran, posted this absolutely vile smear of Stephen Miller. It's dripping with hatred. Remember that every time you watch ABC's coverage of the Trump administration. As it happens, I know Stephen quite well, and he's motivated by love of country. He's motivated by a fear that people like Terry Moran make rules that normal Americans have to follow, but well-connected people don't. It's why Ian blah, 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 blah. And then he ends it with, ABC should apologize to Stephen. What Terry posted is disgraceful. What you post is disgraceful. You're disgraceful. You're serving at the behest voluntarily of a man you called America's Hitler. You fucking coward, J.D. Vance. You weakling. Caroline Leavitt went on Fox News demanding, saying we've talked to ABC and we think there's going to be action taken. Watch this, of course, on Fox News. She didn't go to ABC to do an interview. She didn't go to NBC. She went to Fox News, the propaganda outlet that has no journalistic standards or integrity whatsoever. Watch this with conspiracy theorist Maria Bartiromo.
Last night, in a since-deleted post, so-called journalist Terry Moran went on a rampage against Stephen Miller. What happened, Caroline?
Well, ABC is going to have to answer for what their, again, so-called journalist put out on Twitter in the wee hours of the night, calling Stephen Miller vile. They said that President Trump is a world-class hater. And this is, again, coming from someone who is supposed to be an unbiased and professional journalist. This is unacceptable and unhinged rhetoric coming from someone who works at a major television network. We have reached out to ABC. They have said they will be taking action, so we will see what they do. But I think this speaks to the distrust that the American public have in the legacy media. And it's why in the White House press shop and in President Trump's White House, we have made so many significant and much needed changes to press access and transparency at the White House. We've invited in new media. We have shaken up the White House press pool. And we also just won a major victory over the Associated Press, who thought that they had a constitutional right to walk into the Oval Office or to fly on Air Force One, and a judge said no. In fact, those are privileged spaces that belong to the President of the United States, and this is a great ruling for democracy. We fought them in court, and we won, and so we will continue to keep or hold journalists accountable. All we're asking for is truth and transparency. That's it.
Of course. And you said ABC is going to take action. What do you expect that action to be?
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, hopefully this journalist will either be suspended or terminated. You cannot go on these unhinged rants against administration officials and the President of the United States. And then clearly he knew he was wrong because he deleted the post as soon as he allegedly woke up this morning.
They have said they're taking action, so we will see what they do. And now we know. Also, I like he deleted the post as soon as he allegedly woke up this morning. Allegedly? Do you not think when Terry Moran went to sleep that he didn't wake up? It's allegedly that he woke up, Caroline Levitt? And as far as what the consequence was, what the outcome was, ABC, because they're so fond of bending the knee and supporting a fascist agenda of this president. They've already settled a case with George Stephanopoulos that he did nothing wrong, said nothing wrong, told the truth, like a journalist should. They settled out of court. Oh, we're going to pay you, Donald Trump, millions of dollars. There is no integrity. There is no courage in that. So they suspended, maybe permanently, Terry Moran. This is from the New York Times. ABC suspends Terry Moran for calling Stephen Miller a world-class hater. Mr. Moran made the comment in a late-night social media post in which he also derided President Trump. It drew a rebuke from Vice President J.D. Vance. ABC News suspended the network correspondent Terry Moran on Sunday after he wrote on social media that Stephen Miller, the deputy White House chief of staff, was a man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred and called him a world-class hater. Mr. Moran made the comments in a late-night post on on Twitter, in which he also referred to President Trump as a world-class hater. The post was later deleted, but screenshots circulated on social media and drew a quick rebuke from Trump allies, including Vice President blah, 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 which I've already read. Mr. Moran could not immediately be reached for comment. And here, let me read this last paragraph here. Something I've already alluded to, but it'll give us a jumping off point here. Last year, ABC News, which is owned by the Walt Disney Company, agreed to pay $16 million to settle a defamation lawsuit that Mr. Trump had filed against the network over on-air comments by anchor George Stephanopoulos. At the time, the agreement was viewed as a remarkable concession to a politician by a broadcast network. One more time for those of you in the back of the room, this is from the New York Times. No friend to actual journalism. No friend to standing up to fascism. At the time the agreement was viewed, the agreement where ABC bent the knee to Donald Trump and paid him millions of dollars, $16 million. The agreement was viewed as a remarkable concession to a politician by a broadcast network. And they continue to seek favoritism, to seek favor, to seek, who knows, to seek to be viewed by the American public as sufficiently Trump. I don't know. But now they're suspending people. They didn't point to anything that he said that was incorrect. They're not, all these things he said were lies. Oh, we can't have that. No. It just, Donald Trump doesn't like it. You can't tell the truth about the fascist. Otherwise, the fascist will get upset. And in order for ABC to make its hundreds of millions of dollars a year, they must bend the knee. They must acquiesce, kiss the ring, provide anticipatory obedience to the fascist, to the dear leader, to the leader of the Trump cult. Shame on you, ABC. Good for you, Terry Moran. We have had enough of ass kissing of Donald Trump. Look, we see it enough from MAGA. We certainly don't need it from our media, our constitutionally protected media. Stand up for yourselves, and by extension, stand up for the American people. Provide an example of how to resist tyranny, how to demand that your constitutional rights are protected. Gross. Anyway, what do you think? I would love to know. We can talk about this in the comments. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I would invite you to consider supporting this work. I think if we're seeing anything right now, it's that independent media is more important now than ever. And I hope that you find value in what I do here. If you do, $2 a month, you can become a channel member. You can also go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.